Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 6. I am Nur Sakila Hasan with Miftahul Jannah and Siti Ainumardia. Today, we will explain about discussion method, expository method, demonstration method, problem-solving method, question and answer method, exercise, and lecture method. Okay, for the first, I, Nur Sakila Hasan, will explain about discussion method and expository method. The first one is discussion method. Okay, for the first, we have to know what is actually discussion method. Discussion method is thoughtful communication between participants about a topic or a problem. It is concerned with the analysis, comparison, evaluation, and reaching at a conclusion. It is an exchange of idea and opinion between the participant. So the constituent of discussion in the classroom is the first one is teacher as the lead in the discussion, and then student as the group in the discussion, and the content or the topic or the problem during discussion participant listens and talk about. And then the procedure of discussion method. There are a few procedure of discussion method. The first is introduction. In this part, teacher introduce a topic or problem by providing point or question that serve as the foundation of discussion, and then conducting. Teacher motivates the student to describe, explain, share their experience to begin the discussion. And then student express in detail, and teacher also add on whenever required. And then the last procedure is summarization. In this part, teacher finally concludes the discussion, makes the learner understand that the discussion they have understand and understood the concept of the content. And then what is actually advantage of discussion method? There are several disadvantage. There are several advantage of discussion method. The first one is trying the creativity of student through idea and new breakthrough in problem solving. And then practice respecting the opinion of others, and then enriching insight. And the last one is trying students to get used to deliberation in discussion problem solving. And then disadvantage of discussion method. There are several disadvantage. The first is the conversation sometimes differs, so takes a long time. And then the discussion method is not effectively applied to the group with large numbers. And then information received by student is limited. And the last one is the discussion method is usually dominated by student who wants to stand out. Okay, I think that's all about discussion method. Now let's talk about expository method. What is actually the expository method? This method is a method that prioritize verbal transfer of knowledge information so that student can master the concept of subject matter optimally. This method is known as direct instruction. Thus, in the process of speaking and find the material given, then often to the term call and talk method. This method apply in learning concern as approach educator or teacher centered learning. Educator conveys material in a structured way so that knowledge is conveyed by effectively, because this method focus on the ability academic student or achieving student. And then what is actually advantage of this expository method? The first is this method helps educators to know the level of understanding of student in mastering materials that have been studied. And then this method help the limited time you have educators so that there are enough subject matter that be mastered by student, and then very effectively used on the number of student, the big one. And the last one is learner are trying to observe a material lesson through demonstration. And then the last presentation from me is disadvantage of the expository method. This method is only effective for students who able to hear and pay attention. And then this method exclude characteristic difference student, such as difference in knowledge, talent, interest, and learning style of student. This method does not support its growth, interpersonal skill, critical thinking, and socialization learner. This method require the readiness of educators, starting from knowledge, motivation, enthusiasm, and ability managing class. And the last one is this learning method is one-way communication, that is learning occur in one direction, in which educator play an active role. I think that's all my material about discussion method and expository method.
Okay, I'm Miftahul Jannah, the second speaker, want to explain about demonstration method and problem solving method. The first, demonstration method. Definition of demonstration method. Demonstration method is a learning method by demonstrating or showing to participants teach a certain process, situation, or object that is being learned, either actually or imitation, which is often combined by with an or explanation. The process of transferring information to students will be more real and can be imagined by students, so that your understanding is formed well. Participant student can immediately observe what is shown during lesson take place. This method is used to transfer image to students who are clearer about the things that related to process of arranging, making something, the process of working something, the process of doing or use it, the components that make up something, comparing one way to another, and to know or see the truth of something. The next is step of demonstration method. There are two steps of demonstration method is preparation stage and implementation stage. The first, preparation stage. Formula of goal that must be achieved by student after the process demonstration ends. This goal includes several aspects such as certain aspect of knowledge, attitude, or skill. The second, preparation of an outline of demonstration step that will done. That outline of demonstration step is required as a guide to avoiding failure. The last, do a demonstration trial that includes all equipment required. The next, implementation stage. the first opening step. And the opening step there are the first arranges sheeting that allows all students can notice clearly what demonstrated. The second state what goals the student have to achieve. The state
Okay, thanks for the chance. I'm Siti Mardia S. I want to explain about the Q&A method, training method, and lecture method. The first is question and answer method. Next, the question and answer method is a learning method by presenting lessons in the form of question that must be answered by student. But it can also be a question emerge from student to which the teacher must answer. The question and answer method is the oldest and the widely used in the educational process, both in the family environment, community, and school. There are the advantages of the Q&A method. The first is question can attract and decide attention student even tough at the time the student were nosy, sleeping back strong, and last sleepness. The second is stimulate students to train and develop thinking power, including memory. And the last is develop participant courage and skill, learn to answer and express opinions. Next is the disadvantages of the Q&A methods. There are four. The first is students feel afraid, especially if the teacher less able to encourage student to be brave by creating an atmosphere that is not tense but familiar. The second is time is often wasted, especially when student cannot answer the question until two or three people. And the next is it is not easy to make question that match the level of thinking and easy for student to understand. And the last is in a large number of students no may be enough time to ask question to every student. The next method is training method. Training method is teaching method that instills certain habits, also as means to maintain good habits. In the addition, this method can also use to train dexterity, accuracy, opportunities, and skill of student. As a recognized method has many advantages, also does not is undeniable that the training method has several weaknesses, including the following are the first is the advantages. The advantages, the first is train student motor skills such as the ability to pronounce letters or be skilled in use sport equipment. The second is train student mental abilities such as multiplication, addition, subtraction, division, symbols, and so on. And the last is train student association skills such as the relationship of letters in spelling, reading, maps, and etc. The disadvantages of training methods is the first, inhibiting the talent and initiative of the student because more students are brought to adjustment and direct away from understanding. And the second is forming standards habit because they are automatic. And the last is can lead to verbalism. And the last method is lecture method, or in Indonesian is metode ceramah. The lecture method is method, so to speak, traditional method, because this method has always been used as an oral communication tool between educator with student in the teaching and learning process. Method, the teaching method with lectures can also be said technical learning lecture is a way of teaching that used for problems or and problems orally. The lecture method has several advantages and disadvantages as follows. The advantages, the first is teacher easily master the course, and the second, easy to organize setting or classes. The third is can be followed by a large number of students. Next is easy to prepare student in activity study. And last is educators are easy to explain lessons because learning is dominated by educators. And there are two disadvantages. Disadvantages, not advantages. The first is it is to be verbalistic. The second is if always used and too long can boring. And the last is cause student to be passive. Okay, thanks for our group. Thank you.